អង្គុយចុះ
President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the chamber will start to hear a witness to TCW 868 in public session to the maximum point. Every technician, please connect the audio link to the public gallery and to the press room as normal. Court officers, please invite the witness into the witness stand before the trial chamber. President, good afternoon, Mr. Witness. What is your name? Witness, good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Sien Sung. President, how do you spell Sung? Can you read and write? With the, apostrophes on ngo in Khmer letter. President, thank you, Mr. Sung. When were you born? Answer. I do not recall my date of birth, Mr. President. I only know my age nowadays, Mr. President. Very well, Mr. Witness. And how old are you? Answer. I am 55 years old now. President, thank you, Mr. Sien Sung. Where were you born? Answer. I am living in the Urso village, Kampong Klang Commune, Sotnikum district, Siem Reap province, said the witness. President, and what is your current address? Answer. I am living in Tuol So village. President, what commune, district and province is it? I am living in Tuol So village, Kampong Klang commune, Sotnikum district, Siem Reap province. President, thank you. And what is your occupation? Answer. I am a fisherman. Question. What are your parents' names? Answer. My father's name is Chuan Sien and my mother's Wang Lim. President, thank you. What is your wife's name and how many children do you have together? Answer. My wife's name is Tap Lom. I am the father of 5 children. President, thank you, Mr. Sung. Based on the graduate report, to the best of your knowledge, you were not related to the two accused, Nuon Chi and Khieu Samphan, and to the individuals admitted as civil parties in this case 002. Is this information correct? Answer, yes, that is correct. Question. Have you taken an oath before the Iron Club statue before your appearance? Answer, yes, I have already taken an oath. President, thank you. The Chamber would like to inform you of your rights and obligations as a witness. As a witness in the proceedings before the Chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you. Right against self-incrimination. Your obligations. As a witness, Mr. Sung, in the proceeding before the Chamber, you must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comments to those questions may incriminate you, as the Chamber has just informed you of your rights as a witness. As a witness, you must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. Mr. Sung, have you ever provided a testimony or have you ever been interviewed by the investigators of the OCAJ of the ECCC? How many times did they take place and where did they take place? Answer, yes, I have been interviewed. I cannot tell you, Mr. President, how many times the interview took place. President, do you recall where they took place when you were interviewed by the investigators? Answer, I was interviewed at Aksat Pagoda. President, thank you. Before your appearance, have you read, reviewed, or did somebody read to you the written records of the interview to refresh your memory? Answer, yes, I have read the written record of the interview. President, thank you. To your best knowledge, can you tell the Chamber whether or not the written record of the interview is consistent with the testimony you provided through the investigator of the ECC at Aksat Pagoda? Answer, yes, it is consistent. President, in accordance with Internal Rule 91 bis of the ECCC, the Chamber now gives the floor to the co-prosecutors to put questions before other parties. The combined time for the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers for civil parties is 2 sessions. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, witness. My name is Vincent de Wilde, and I'm going to put questions to you on behalf of the co-prosecutor's office. And we thank you for being here. And we thank you for answering the questions as completely as possible. And the questions will involve essentially what happened at the Ksa Pagoda. If you do not understand one of my questions, of course, you can ask me to repeat it. First, I have a few questions regarding what you did between 1975 and 1979 under the Khmer Rouge regime. Can you tell us where you were living back then and where you worked?
At that time, I worked in a mobile unit harvesting rice.
Et
And where was that place?
dans quel district?
In which district, in which commune, in which village were you harvesting rice?
I harvested rice in Songvoi commune, Jiang village.
Did you remain there during the entire duration of the regime?
Actually, I didn't stay there permanently because sometimes I was reassigned to harvest rice here and there.
Durant
And when you were in Sang Oi commune, in Tieng village, did you attend meetings that were chaired by the commune chief, or by the village chief, or by the chief of the mobile unit?
No, I did not.
Est-ce que durant
And during that period, did new people come to settle down in Sangvoi commune?
Yes, there were.
Were there many of them? Did many people settle there? And were they mixed with the local population, that is to say, with the base people there?
New people lived or mingled with the base people.
After 17 April 1975, did the Khmer Rouge authorities check the new people to see if they were former officials or former Lon Nol servicemen?
No, it did not happen at the place where I lived.
ou des
Among the new people, were there people belonging to ethnic minorities, such as Cham people or Vietnamese?
There was a Vietnamese family.
Pouvez-vous nous
Can you provide us with the names of the members of that family?
I forget it, however, I recalled an unmarried woman.
et vous ne vous
And do you no longer remember the name of that unmarried woman?
ឈ្មោះ
Her name was Chantha.
À part la
Aside from Chanta's family, were there any Vietnamese people who had settled in that commune since a while? Let us say people who shared the day-to-day living of the base people.
អត់មានទេ
No, there wasn't. As I said, there was only one family in that village.
Do you know if there were other families outside of that village? In Sang Voi commune and in Chi Kreng commune, were there therefore other Vietnamese families in that commune and in that district outside of your village?
I was not so sure about that because when they gathered up the Vietnamese, I did not know which villages or communes they gathered them from.
Did you ever hear that in your district of Chi Kreng, lists were drawn up of Vietnamese people?
No, I did not hear about it.
I am now going to turn to the event, explaining why you are here, essentially. So, was there a massacre of Vietnamese people at Ksa Pagoda in 1978? Can you tell us what happened there?
President witness, please hold on, and Council Copper, you have the floor.
what kind of question is that? I mean, was there a massacre in 78? Is that the question that you were asking after 5 minutes?
Mr. President, I don't know if it's an objection or a simple comment, so I can rephrase my question. What happened at Ksa Pagoda in 1978? Did anything special and major happen there?
In that year, I was in a mobile unit, and while I was on my way to my home, I witnessed what happened there.
Et de
And what did you witness specifically?
I saw Vietnamese people being killed and dropped into a pit.
Bien, nous allons
Fine. We will get back to that event in detail and the way the event unfolded. First, however, to replace you in the context, at the Ksa Pagoda, were there monks, religious ceremonies between 1975 and 1979?
While I was living near the pagoda, there was no monk residing in that pagoda.
Et pourquoi
And why were there no monks there? And why were there no Buddhist ceremonies at that pagoda?
I did not know the reason for that.
À quoi servait
So, therefore, what was the purpose of the pagoda between 1975 and 1978?
The pagoda was used to house mobile unit workers. However, they only stayed there for temporarily for about a fortnight, then they moved out.
Est-ce que vous-même
Did you live in that pagoda yourself?
I lived outside the perimeter of the pagoda.
est-ce qu'il y avait
Was there a fence surrounding the perimeter in which the pagoda was located?
Part of the surrounding had a fence, but it was not fully surrounded by fence.
et de quoi
And what was that fence made up of? Was it a wooden fence, or was it a fence that was less solid?
The fence was made of wood, and it was not that strong.
Bien.
Fine. Now I would like to get back to the period during which these executions happened, which you said you witnessed. Do you remember this period in 1978 where apparently you witnessed this event? Can you tell us if this event happened during the dry season or during the rainy season, for example?
It was during the rainy season.
et c'était
And how much time before the arrival of the Vietnamese was this, approximately?
I cannot recall that.
In a written record of interview E3/9335 at page 2 in all three languages, you placed this event in November 1978. And in the second written record of interview E3/7890, also on page 2 in all three languages, you said that the executions took place in 1978 during the harvest season, probably in September or in October. So now I would like you to be more specific. Are you speaking about the rainy season, or are you speaking about the rice harvesting season?
It was during the harvest season, and I actually had to wade through water in the rice field.
d'accord.
Fine. Did you see anything concerning the arrest and the gathering of these Vietnamese people?
I saw them being placed in the hall in the pagoda.
Là, je procède.
Now, I'm going to proceed in steps. So I was proceeding in steps. I was speaking about the moment before the execution. I was only speaking about the moment when they were arrested and brought and taken to the pagoda. So, did you witness one or several arrests of Vietnamese people?
I did not witness any arrest. What I saw was that they had already been there in the pagoda.
Thank you. Were Vietnamese people arrested within your mobile unit?
In my mobile unit, a female worker was removed, and her name, I mentioned earlier, was Janta.
So, when did you realize that she had been removed? Did anybody say something about this, or did you notice this later, only when the executions happened?
Actually, the woman told everyone in the mobile unit that she was being transferred to study tailoring in Phnom Penh.
Who was Vietnamese in this woman's family, in Chanta's family? Was it both parents, or were all of her grandparents Vietnamese?
Janta was Vietnamese. Her grandparents were also Vietnamese.
Est-ce qu'elle était née au Cambodge?
Was she born in Cambodia?
She was born in Cambodia.
Did she speak Khmer without an accent, or did she speak Khmer with a Vietnamese accent?
She spoke Khmer clearly.
Est-ce qu'on pouvait savoir?
Was it possible, by looking at her features, to tell that she was not Khmer?
Yes, people could recognize that.
Well, now I would like to speak about the transport of the Vietnamese to the pagoda. Do you know how the Vietnamese were taken to Ksa Pagoda?
No, I did not witness that.
Est-ce que vous avez...
Did you learn how they were taken there? Since, as you said that you did not see that, but were you told how they were taken there?
President witness, please hold on, and Council Copper, you have the floor.
I object, Mr. President. I should have objected already a long time ago, but who is they? How does he know that they are Vietnamese? How does he know why they are there? We jump from Chanta to massacres. There's no, it's complete chaos, this questioning. Can we at least establish how he comes to know this, why these people are Vietnamese according to him? We don't know nothing at this point.
Mr. President, I am proceeding in a systematic and gradual way in order to try to obtain as many details as possible. So may I continue, Mr. President?
The objection is overruled, and co-prosecutor, you may proceed.
So, since you did not see this happen yourself, did someone tell you how these people were taken to the Ksah Pagoda?
I heard people talking about it. People said that they were transported by ox carts.
Did these people say that all of the people who were taken to Ksah Pagoda were Vietnamese, or did they say something else?
They said that they were Vietnamese.
And once they were taken to Ksah Pagoda, how long did they stay there? Do you know?
When they were transported to the pagoda, they actually were killed on the night that they arrived at that pagoda.
And during the day, were you able to see from a distance anything happen in this pagoda?
No, I did not.
Can you explain to us under which circumstances you were able to witness executions, those executions you referred to earlier? What led you to come close to the Wat Sak Pagoda?
At that time, I was walking back from my mobile unit, and it was about 200 meters away. I was on a road next to the pagoda. I heard the voices from the pagoda, so I actually had a secret look at what happening inside the pagoda.
que vous pourriez être un peu plus...
Can you be a bit more specific about that? What kind of voices did you hear? And what led you to go take a look, as you said?
When I had a look, I saw people being walked out of the library hall, which was located in the middle of the pagoda premise.
Now I'd like to proceed a little bit more gradually and read to you what you said to the investigators. It is E3/9335, page 2 in French, 2 to 3 in English, and page 2 in Khmer. The question that was put to you, tell us about the execution of the Vietnamese by the Khmer Rouge. As of 7 o'clock, I heard a lot of people crying around the pagoda. I went into the village in order to gather information from the people there, and they told us that they didn't know anything. Since I was suspicious, I invited my friend to go for a walk to look, and I saw a light about 5 meters outside the pagoda wall. Is this what happened? Did you hear people cry? People who were around the pagoda?
That is correct.
N'avez-vous pas pensé que...
Didn't you feel that it was a bit risky to come close to the pagoda then?
I knew it was risky, but I actually hid myself in a pit, and I just approached the pagoda cautiously, and I actually had a look while I was about 30 meters away from the pagoda.
Et lorsque vous...
And when you arrived on site, that is say about 30 meters away from the pagoda, had the executions already started?
The execution was being carried out.
Combien de temps?
How much time went by between the moment you heard the people cry at around 7 p.m. and the moment when you were able to witness the executions? So then, as of what time were you able to witness the executions?
I stood there watching the event unfolded for about an hour, and then I left.
And the friend who went with you, did he also stay there and observe the executions?
No.
Yes, he was with me, and we left together.
Now, regarding the specific location of the execution, or of these executions, where, regarding the where in the pagoda or around the pagoda did these executions take place? So if you look at the entrance of the pagoda, can you tell us where the people were executed in relation to the main entrance, for example?
No.
From the main entrance, the execution took place on the right hand side.
Et est-ce que c'était à l'intérieur du complexe de la pagode?
Was that inside the Sak Pagoda complex or within the fence that the execution took place?
It was outside the fence of the pagoda.
Et à peu près à combien de mètres de la clôture de la pagode?
And approximately how many meters from the pagoda fence?
Answer. It was about 5 or 6 meters from the fence.
Tout à l'heure, vous avez dit que
A while ago, you said that you were able to observe people being led from the library to the interior of the pagoda, that is where they were being executed. How many soldiers did you see accompany the victims to the execution site?
Answer. There were about 10 to 12 of them.
est-ce qu'il était possible pour ces victimes de tenter de fuir?
Was it possible for that? Was it possible for those victims to attempt to flee?
Answer. No, they did not attempt to flee.
De là où vous étiez posté à environ 30 mètres,
From where you were, that is about 30 meters from the execution site, could you clearly see what was happening on the execution site per se?
Answer. At the time, they lighted the kerosene lantern, so it was clear for us to see, for me to see rather.
et est-ce que vous aviez pu voir clairement
And were you able to clearly see the soldiers or whoever were carrying out the executions and the victims?
Answer. Yes, I could see the killing clearly.
Et comme vous étiez à 30 mètres, est-ce que vous...
And you were 30 meters away, were you able to also hear what was happening on the execution site?
Answer. Yes, I could hear it.
Est-ce que vous pouviez entendre les conversations?
And could you hear the conversations between the guards or the soldiers?
Answer. Yes, I heard the conversation.
Et pouvez-vous nous dire de quoi parlaient
And can you tell us what the soldiers were talking about at the time of the executions? Were they speaking to one another or to the victims?
Answer. They were talking to the victims.
et que demandait-il ou que disait-il aux victimes?
គេសួរចម្លើយចិនឬមួយយួន
Answer. The victims were interviewed whether they were Chinese or Vietnamese.
Lorsque les gens répondent
And when the people said they were Vietnamese, were they executed?
Answer. For those who said they were Vietnamese, they were killed at the pit.
parmi ces Vietnamiens exécutés,
Among the Vietnamese who were executed, that is, among those you could see being executed after they said they were Vietnamese, were there entire families, including the elderly, adults, and children?
Answer. I have no knowledge of that matter.
est-ce que vous avez pu observer ou non
Were you able to observe whether or not little children or toddlers were executed?
Answer. Yes, I saw the children.
Quelle a été votre réaction lorsque vous avez vu qu'on tuait
What was your reaction when you realized that they were also killing children?
Answer. I was standing and looking at the killing, and I was so scary.
et qu'est-ce qui vous a poussé à rester aussi longtemps
And what prompted you to stay on the spot and to observe all those executions without fleeing?
Answer. There was one adult who was with me and looking at the incident.
D'accord. Est-ce que
Very well. Was the fact that there were two of you present encourage you to remain there to observe the executions?
Answer. Because there was an adult and he was older than me, and because with his presence that I dared to look at the incident.
Bien, tout à l'heure, vous avez dit
Very well. You said that the victims were asked whether they were Chinese or Vietnamese. Did any of those people say that they were not Vietnamese but Chinese?
Answer. Yes.
comment ont réagi les soldats lorsque
How did the soldiers react when a prisoner told them he or she was Chinese?
គេ
They walked those who said they were Chinese into the place.
est-ce qu'ils les conduisaient directement juste parce
did they walk them directly after they said they were Chinese, or did they try to cross-check that information to ascertain that they were indeed Chinese?
Answer. Regarding the incident, I saw those who said they were Chinese were walked to another place, to the inside compound, after they said they were Chinese.
Est-ce que vous savez si par la suite
And do you know whether thereafter, after those events, the Chinese survived?
Answer. These people were walked inside the compound of the area, and I noticed that killings happened, and after which some people were put on to the ox cart and taken away. President, you have the floor now, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm a bit late, I realize, but I'm looking in the audience and I see somebody sitting which could possibly be a person who is also being interviewed, and might be the spouse of this witness. And in order to be able to have the possibility to have his evidence verified by maybe one day calling upon his wife as witness, who gave a statement in E3/9390, I think it would be a good idea, Mr. President, if you ask the witness if the woman behind him sitting in the audience is indeed the wife and the same person who gave testimony about events in Siem Reap.
Monsieur le Président, est-ce que l'avocat...
Mr. President, could counsel repeat the reference of the document? We haven't heard it in French.
It's E3/9390. The name on that WRI is the same name as his wife, or it's the name of his wife. And considering the fact that we just come from a closed session into an open session, I would imagine that is indeed his wife sitting behind him.
President, call officer, please ask the lady who is now sitting in the public gallery how is she related to the witness Sung?
លោកសុងដែល
President, Mr. Sung, the person who is sitting behind you in the public gallery, how is she related to you? Witness, I have not looked at that person yet in the public gallery. Witness, she is my wife. President, Mr. Kope, is it true that this individual will also be summoned by the chamber to testify on the treatment of Vietnamese?
I don't think she's on the list now. What I do know, as I just said, that she gave a statement, a WRI, which is E39390. And of course, there might come a request at one point from one of the parties to see if she can somehow corroborate his evidence. It's uncertain. I agree. I see you, Judge Vance, but still, I think if there's a mere possibility, and his wife did give a statement, apparently her testimony was relevant to the investigators, then I think we should continue tomorrow in her absence.
Can we just clarify for the record, she's so far not on anybody's list? Have understood that correctly?
Correct, yes.
And as far as I understand you yourself can't at this point in time say if you might make a request to hear her?
No, not at this stage, but we might be looking for some corroborating evidence. His story is quite interesting, to put it mildly, and it would be worthwhile. We've done it before in a segment on Krang Tachan. Requests were denied, but asking for evidence that could potentially corroborate the inculpatory evidence, and it might be something that he spoke to about these events to his wife. So at this stage, there's no request. I cannot decide yet whether we will make such a request, but I don't think that is the decisive factor.
President, you have the floor now, Judge Lavanya.
Counsel Kope, are you seriously saying that we can seriously stop anybody from attending these hearings if they may be called to testify in this trial, whereas they are on no list, based on the simple fact that perhaps one day they could be called to testify? That would suffice to have that person excluded from this courtroom. I think this is a public trial, and it is not an exclusive right of the defense.
Well, obviously, if it was just his wife coming to support him, I wouldn't have a problem. But we can establish that she gave, in this very same segment, witness testimony, which is given a very recent E3 number. And therefore, she's in a completely different position as compared to anyone who just visits the courtroom because it's a public hearing. And the fact that we haven't decided yet whether we will seek her testimony, I don't think, as I said earlier, is a relevant decisive criterion.
In order to shorten this for today, your request is from tomorrow onwards. Do I understand you correctly? To remove her from the audience from tomorrow onwards. If I understood you correctly, we can make a decision tomorrow morning and go ahead now.
Oh, no. No, we would have to stop now and then go on tomorrow.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. If I may make a remark on this matter. The witness was age 15 in 1975 and was 19 in 1979. It is quite obvious that he got married subsequently. Secondly, I have read the document which is in the interface. It was placed on the interface by the non-chair defense. I read it telling myself that there are certainly some elements on the Sak Pagoda, but that is not the case. So this is not someone who could even testify on the segment regarding the Vietnamese. That person may testify regarding events at Siem Reap, possibly. He said they could have talked about this after their marriage. I think it is a flimsy reason to stop the proceedings at this point. So may I request the chamber to allow me to continue putting questions to the witness.
Merci, Madame la Juge.
Thank you, Your Honor, for giving me the floor. I endorse the remarks made by my colleague, and I would like to add that this person is not on any list, as the judge said, and on that basis, it is therefore very difficult to refuse someone who was not proposed by the prosecution or the defense or the civil parties from this courtroom. And I do not understand the basis of the objection made by our learned colleague of the defense.
President, since there is no sufficient basis and ground that the wife of this witness, who is now sitting in the public gallery, is in the list requested by any parties, and since there is no request to summon her to testify in case 002/02, the chamber has no rights to prevent her from being in the public gallery and observe the court proceeding. So the chamber will not order the security personnel to remove her from the courtroom today and also the following days. And now the chamber resumes its hearing. Co-prosecutor, you may resume your line of questioning.
Merci, Monsieur le Témoin.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. I wanted you to tell the chamber what you said regarding that person of Chinese origin before the investigating judges, document E3/9335, page 4, in each of the languages.
Ensuite,
this is what you said. Subsequently, the Khmer Rouge took the Chinese person to the pagoda to look for that person's brothers and sisters. Approximately 20 minutes later, I saw that they identified another Chinese, and for about an hour, I saw them executing the Vietnamese victims, and there were 2 Chinese families who were released. They asked the villagers to lead them back to their native villages using an ox cart. End of quote, free translation. you talked of 2 Chinese individuals and 2 families, and you said that they were released. Is that correct? You said a while ago that they were taken to another location. Could you please clarify that point?
Answer. Those people were walked out of the killing site to search for their wives, and afterwards they were sent back to their villages.
D'accord, alors j'en viens.
Very well. Let us now talk about the killers. You were able to observe for approximately an hour. You said that they were soldiers, unless I am mistaken. How did you know that they were soldiers? Did you know their unit of origin?
Answer. The reason I said they were soldiers because each of them was armed with a weapon, and I cannot tell you their units of origins.
Est-ce que c'était la première fois que...
Was that the first time you were able to see all of those soldiers, or you had already bumped into them earlier in that area or in the district?
Answer. I never saw them.
Le soir, vous avez assisté...
And in the evening, you witnessed the executions. Did you take note of the names of the soldiers who spoke to those victims, calling them by their names?
Answer. At that time, people were addressed by using the word comrades. Specific name were not used.
D'après ce que vous avez vu,
From what we were able to observe 30 meters away, were those soldiers who were carrying out the executions drinking any alcohol while they were carrying out the executions?
Answer. Yes, they drank.
lorsque les victimes étaient amenées...
When the victims were led to the execution site, were they tied or not?
Answer. No, they were not tied.
Est-ce que certaines de ces victimes avaient les yeux bandés?
Were some of the victims blindfolded?
Answer. No, they weren't.
Étant donné que les victimes n'avaient...
Given that the victims were not blindfolded, when they would arrive at the execution site, how would they react when they saw the bodies of the people who had already been executed?
Answer. I was looking at them from a distance, and the victims were acting normal.
When you were saying that they were acting normally, you mean that they had no reaction when they would discover that they were going to be executed?
Answer. I did not, I could not see the facial expression of the victims clearly, and I did not know at the time whether they were so terrified or not.
Est-ce que vous les avez
Did you hear them scream or cry then?
Answer. At the pits, I did not, from that pit, I did not hear any cries or screaming.
Were the victims dressed or were they naked when they were executed?
Answer. Some victims were undressed and some were dressed, and some other half of their body were undressed.
Et
And how were these people executed? With which weapons? Or with which means? With which instruments?
Answer. They used the bamboo sticks with around 70 centimeters in length.
j'ai entendu 70 mètres.
I heard 70 meters long, but I believe it was 70 centimeters, in fact, yes. Maybe my last question, Mr. President, I see that time is running out. Were the small children also struck with the bamboo sticks, or were they killed in another manner?
Answer. To my observation, some children were killed to death and some other were thrown into the pit.
Je n'ai pas bien
I did not understand your answer. You said some children were killed and some were thrown into the pits. Were they all killed? Or do you mean that they were killed in different ways? Can you explain here?
Answer. After the children arrived at the killing site, some of them were killed and some other were thrown up into the air, and when they fell down into the pit, they fainted and collapsed, and perhaps they died afterward.
ขอบคุณ
President, thank you. It is now time for the adjournment, and the hearing will resume tomorrow on Wednesday, 28 October 2015 at 9 o'clock. Tomorrow, the chamber will continue hearing the testimony of the witness Sien Sung on the treatment of Vietnamese. Please be informed. Thank you, Mr. Sien Sung. The hearing of your testimony has not come to a conclusion yet. You are therefore invited to testify once again tomorrow at 9 a.m. Court officer, please work with the vessels to make a transport arrangement to the place where he is staying now, and please invite him back into the courtroom tomorrow at 9 a.m. Security personnel are instructed to bring the two accused back into the ECCC detention facility, and please have them return tomorrow at 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.